Here's the piston for an Echo CS590. There's the piston for an Echo CS7310. So we went from a 60cc saw to 70 cc's. And here is the piston of what we're working on today. That's a big difference there. That's a 60mm piston in a Stihl 084. You can see it's a 080. I think the 084 is the only one with the skeletonized connecting rod. Really interesting. But I got the timing wheel on it. I started this a long time ago and pretty much immediately shoved it on a back burner, and now I need to get it done. So here we are. This is the piston that came out of it. It's not very happy. I was able to save the cylinder that came out of it. It's got some spots that look ugly, but it is still smooth. Got all the aluminum transfer. That's the only spot that kind of bothers me, is right there. And I've already scratched around in here trying to figure out my plan for porting this. The new cylinder did not have that little step in the edge, you know, where you can see where it shined up, because I stuck sandpaper on a piston and ran it in there, and yeah, everything's got dust and dog hair on it because it's been sitting forever. But the new cylinder did not have that step, and new cylinder did have this ridge cut in it here. But I got the new cylinder machined. I don't do the machine work. I have someone else do it for me because I don't have the tools for it. But we took 20 thousandths out of the band. So I have a nice squish band now. And I think 36 thousandths off the base. And I'm running the stock base gasket. So overall, I guess we dropped the cylinder 36 thousandths. I mean, that's easy math right there. That leaves my squish between 25 and 30 thousandths. This saw is 122 or 120 something cc's. It's big. So we do not want to go overly tight on it. If you want to do overly tight, you go to the industrial supply store, pick up some 1/64 gasket material, and make you a new gasket. This is the one that came out of it. I'm reusing it, and I'll be covering it, smearing it with silicone, so it should not leak because the silicone is doing the sealing. We're just using the gasket as a spacer. I believe this is the extent of what I'm doing as far as piston work goes. Really, I never videoed it before, but there were some seams from, I'm guessing, the casting or forging process, similar to what's down here. Those lines you can see that ran along the support for the piston and in the windows of the piston. This is one that hasn't had the seams taken out. The piston's junk, but it gives you an illustration of what's going on. Remove that nub there because it does not appear to be helping in any way. And we'll check to see how much difference that makes. Let's find the widest part of this window, run across it with my caliper, and we're at 340. Same window, find the widest part. We're at 395. 389. So that gained me 40 thousandths. That's, I think, a millimeter. But on something like that, that's probably 10% on all the windows. So in theory, you have a total of 40% more area to flow out of that piston. I'm not super hung up on the airflow stuff for pistons. Maybe you can get it to do more, but unless you put a piston on a flow bench and can prove to me it flows that much more, I don't see any reason to go beyond this. As far as weight removal, I just smoothed that step in there. That might aid in flow underneath it. Don't know. So yeah, actually it goes like that. So yeah, that's the extent of my piston work. Open the windows slightly. That's the side that they already got opened. Yeah, open them slightly. Take that seam out of there. Contour everything a little bit. I'm gonna call it a day there. Next thing is to get my new timing numbers. I have the old ones written down in my book. I'm gonna apologize for my notes because they look like hodgepodge nonsense. Stock timing intake was like 67, 68. Exhaust was about 96. Transfers were around 119. When I dropped it, took the base gasket out, which I imagine this is pretty much what my numbers are going to be now, because I dropped the gas, or took slightly more than what the gasket had off the base. My intake would probably be 68, exhaust would probably be 97, transfers at 121. So let's verify. So here we are with the numbers. 20 thousandths out the chamber, 36 off the base, squish is 28 thousandths. So they basically mimic the base gasket delete numbers, with the exception of this cylinder now has a decent squish band in it, and the old one just had that little shined up ring as a squish band. Now it extends almost all the way out to the edge of the chamber. The new one runs almost all the way out to here. I'm gonna think about the numbers. I don't want to raise the exhaust any. There is a lot of room to widen it, but I have to make sure that the rest of the port can handle that. Transfers I'll probably put back to the stock number of like 119. I'll see if they'll handle 120. And then I think I'll take the intake to maybe 72. So I'll start drawing in the cylinder and figuring it all out. So let's try and get you in there. The transfer is set on an angle, but the amount that I'm moving it is the same as the bevel on the transfer. So I don't need to mark it at all. Here's how I got my cylinder laid out. That's the width. The bottom one is just as a reference for height. Like I said, I don't want to raise it at all. That's the exhaust. The line just smeared there when I took the ring out. But the one on the what looks like the bottom of that port, it's actually the top. That's max height. When I bring the exhaust out wider, I'm going to match that same angle that the port, or match the same curvature of the roof of the port right now. That's there so it doesn't catch a ring. And then I'm going to try to widen it out a little bit more, or flatten it out a little bit more, I should say. Transfers, stuck the ring in there, found out that they're on an angle, and going to going to take it as far as the bevel, the factory bevel. That line is where I want to take that lower transfer to, drag it out that way. This side, I just need to angle in it a little bit more, and then right here at the very bottom there's a huge lip, so I'll drag that out to where it's smooth as well. It'll probably just chew through where the bevel goes. And then for the intake, I can feel a little bit of a shelf there, so I'm going to reach through and try and straighten that out. And on this, maybe it's this side, one of them is not fed too well. It's the one on the left. It's like off-centered, kind of obscured by the wall. So I'm going to go to the roof of that intake and change the curvature of it slightly. And hopefully should have it done this evening. But pretty cool, working on something probably as old as me. Alright, started reassembly. I threw the clutch side crank seal in. I can't pop the flywheel. I'm going to run by the dealer and try and get them to pop it for me. This saw ain't been run in like 7 years, so no telling how long the flywheel was, how long it's been since that crank seal's been changed, but the clutch side one kind of crumbled. Anyway, here's the port work on the cylinder. Nothing super drastic. Everything just got moved a few degrees. The most, what I moved the most was the intake. Stock, it was like 67. Changed it to 70. Transfers I just set back to factory height and did work on the lowers. And then the exhaust didn't get raised at all. You can still see plating on the top. Yeah, you can still see the plating in there. But I did widen it. So yeah, it didn't get raised, just got made wider. This is a super large bore size at 60 millimeter, so I left that arch in there instead of running it pretty flat, because as much tension as these rings have on them, I don't want this thing to hang a ring. Band work, 20 thousandths out the band, 36 thousandths off the base. Times at 70, 120, and 98. Alright, I got it together enough that I think I can get it fired up and started. I just pulled it enough to prime it and let it pop. So this is the half choke. You know, after it first fired, I'll push the decomp back in, because this is monster. Got a bark box on it. This is probably gonna make my ears ring. Yeah, it's loud. Feels like it's got some zip to it. That was just the settings that the carb had on it when I pulled it off. I did put a kit in it. It was super clean on the inside, so seems like it is okay there. But it still needs the flywheel side crank seal. I replaced the clutch side one. Couldn't get the flywheel off. Pulled it at the dealer. Got to put the rest of it back together, and then should be able to. I don't have a bar and chain for this, but we'll see if the owner will let me get some video of it when he cuts with it.